Why, hello.
Hey,
How's it
hello.
going?
Hey, it's going. It's Saturday here.
It's Saturday, it's Sunday
Yeah,
here.
Sunday. I know. We just got that weekend thing going, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's amazing how we find time, isn't it? Because
Yep.
there is quite the mileage between. Yeah.
Yes. And we're
Now,
all in that holiday mood as well.
it is. It's kind of hard, everybody's bustling about trying to get preparations and all done and, you know, things that you don't normally have to do, gifts or social events or dinners and things like that. Yeah,
Yep.
but yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy here too. Yeah, and it's hot where you are. It's been cold here. Yeah.
It's not too bad today, thankfully.
Oh, that's good. We've had the weirdest weather. It was really really cold. We had all that snow, and then
Mm.
it was really freezing, and then a day later it gets up to 50 and it's really windy, and I think like, oh my god, this is how tornadoes start and stuff, with the big swings in temperature and everything like that, and the wind was like so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. There hasn't been much wind today for me, or recently. It's mainly just been either hot or raining. Or both. Both is the worst. When it's hot and raining, ugh. How muggy it can be. It's
Yeah.
brutal.
No, I get it. No, it's just like the weather is like, I know our friends in Canada had terrible rain and flooding and then some snow. And even our friends in the Pacific Northwest woke up to some snow on the ground the other day. which I thought was a little bit unusual. And even in California, it was raining. It was raining a lot. Like it was just like the other day, everybody I talked to had miserable weather. It was like, but the thing is, we've got to talk to them. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't like nobody was stranded. So that was cool, you know.
That's good.
Couch says we had some nasty wind and snow this week on the West End. Yeah, Canada, correct? Okay. Not to dox your whereabouts, but I think everybody knows you're in Canada. I believe. And maybe I got that wrong. I don't know. But we had that snow, definitely. And the wind is still quite up, you know. So sometimes you'll hear me stutter a little bit because like I don't like the wind. You know that.
That's fine.
You know that Rekkr is always covering for me with that because like he knows. Well, we got a good one for them today, don't we? Like this chapter 18.
Yes.
More than a third into the book. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
And so far, it's been an all right ride, don't you think?
All in all. It depends on how you look at it.
Apart from some of them, but you know.
I will say this: I survived.
She's a survivor, people.
I survived. You tried. Like some of them were rough. I have to admit, wrapping my hand around some of them, trying to make them usable in everyday life, when the core of it is so against my nature. Yes, and so brutal. And some of them are very harsh and very rigid, and even the explanations are just like really cutthroat. And I'm just like, I do understand the necessity for that in business. I do come from the business world, and I have spent years trying to reacclimate myself to not that environment. Okay. And I just don't want to live my life like that anymore. You know what I mean? I don't want to be cutthroat step. You know, you gotta step on a ton of people to get ahead. You can't worry about the other guy. You only worry about yourself. And I don't want to sound like extremely woke and have people coming for me because I'm not. I'm like middle of the road awake. But I come from a generation where woke wasn't a bad word. And now it's something you don't want to be called because it actually means a group of people who are quite extreme about stuff. And so I like don't even want to get like into that, you know. It does, doesn't it, Couch? I'm with you on it. It sounds like an exhausting way to live in everyday life. Yes, it is. And this is why people in business have such burnout in everything too. And I think it's absolutely right. You know, it's too aggressive. You know what I mean? But now I just want to like get along. You know, I want to look at the other side. I want to just get along. I want a more peaceful life. I want to feel like people aren't uncomfortable around me. You know, to follow these rules to such an extent that Green lays out, I can imagine most people would be incredibly uncomfortable around you if you were following those rules.
Well, they would, if you're following the rules to a T, anyone that knows that you're even following the rules is going to look at you sideways. They're not going. You're not going to just. You're not going to get a genuine side of someone. They're always going to be guarded. I know if I knew someone, who loved this book and religiously used the laws for their own gain, I would be very guarded. I'd be very careful with what I say to them.
Right, exactly. Because you know, there's like it's such a fine balance of when you're manipulating and gathering information to use against people, and just putting on the mask, so to speak. People
Mm-hmm.
do get a sense. People do have intuition, and people know when. I think when you're being disingenuine, which a lot of these rules are requiring you to be,
Mm.
um, I think people can tell. And
Yeah.
I think that makes it more difficult to apply these to everyday law. Although I accept the challenge, Rekkr, and I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
apply every single one of these to everyday life in some manner, even if it's only as a big red like a big warning sign. Big red flashing lights and all is a warning sign on how to recognize when this is being done to you. Which a couple of those laws that you dragged me through, that's where it ended up, because I couldn't
Yep.
find a morsel of application that I could use with them. Like I just refused to go there.
So I still haven't gotten you on the side of absolutely
No.
crush your enemy.
No, although I did see a comment or two on a couple of videos ago that they were like, Rekkr tried to kill the bear. Rekkr did try to kill the bear on that one.
Mm.
But
What can I say?
yeah. Well, when it didn't work. I mean, you did. I think you challenged me because, we were talking about this, about how it's so hard. It's such a
Mm-hmm.
hard book, and it's so minimal and where you can use it or whatever. And it had so much controversy around it, which was intriguing. But Robert Greene often talks from other things that I've read that he's done besides the 48 laws and the 50th law that we did before. He talks about human nature.
Mm-hmm.
What are human behavior, what we do commonly, and what is ingrained in us and everything. And he talks about behavioral stuff, and I found it more intriguing to find out why he was so hard this way. And I guess it was just because he was analyzing how this can actually work.
Exactly. But it's I can see how easy it is to actually mix the laws from like blurring the lines between using it in a business sense to using it in a social sense. Because I guess if you want to really follow them and listen to the laws, you might it might end up becoming something more like second nature to act a certain way,
Right.
or habitual to act that way. And that's not something that you would want to do. You wouldn't want to have like using a you wouldn't want to use was it controlled honesty in everyday use.
No, I just
What was the
prefer to be
law?
just. I don't. I think I don't remember which one it was, but I think I know what you're talking about. The one where it was like you
Law
just never.
12. Use selective honesty and
Mhm.
generosity to disarm your victims.
In other words, you're nice to them, and you're just you're just shining them up to try to get them to trust you, and then you just pull the rug out from under them and do what you want. I didn't go along with that one very well. I don't. I do understand that you shouldn't be spilling everything out to everybody, because
No, but that's not selective honesty.
this
That's just
because it's
um
true. If you tell everyone your plans, there are going to people that are going to try to muck it up or steal
oh,
your idea
absolutely.
or try to beat you to the punch. And especially in business, and you definitely don't tell everybody what you're up to at all times, because
Mhm.
they will find ways around it to get there first, especially if it's a good idea. you know
Yeah, exactly.
um yeah, and what are you going to do after they already take it? you know
Yeah.
like
It's like,
yeah.
I was going to bring this amazing product out. This is my amazing product, and I'm only a month away to bringing it out to the public, and then a week
Hmm.
later, someone with more money and more resources than you already brings it out at like half the price you were going to bring it out
Yeah,
at.
exactly. So like for big business and everything, and even in like group endeavors or things in common goal issues, you don't always, if you're going for a promotion, if you're going for a position, an elected position, a promotion, anything like that, you just don't hedge your bets by putting all of your stuff out there. You know what I mean?
No,
It's just because there will be people. I mean, because I hate to say it, but a lot of people aren't genuine and aren't good, and like are always looking to come up on someone. And some people will just throw a monkey wrench in it just to do it.
yep. I've known a few people
Hmm.
that they just want to throw they just want to throw a grenade in with everything
Hmm.
just to see how much you squirm.
Exactly. Just because like you just got it too easy right now or whatever, or
Hmm.
they just like a gene
Or they're
says wouldn't
thinking you're
select
doing
it.
too well.
Yeah, right. Like how dare you? Um, Jin says, wouldn't selective honesty be akin to lying by omission? Yes.
Essentially, yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty
Essentially.
much a lie. It's essentially lying by omission.
Yep. And just holding back, not asking the direct questions, hedging, all of that. But that was quite a few lessons ago. So let's get to this one. What do you think, Rick? You ready? I hope
Yes.
you guys in the chat are, because I was actually I like this one. All right. I'm gonna put my reading voice on. You ready? Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So law 18 is titled Do Not Build Fortresses to Protect Yourself. Isolation is dangerous. And it goes on to explain shortly that the world is dangerous and enemies are everywhere. Everyone has to protect themselves. A fortress seems the safest, but isolation exposes you to more dangers than it protects you from. It cuts you off from valuable information. It makes you conspicuous and an easy target. Better to circulate among people. Find allies, mingle. You are shielded from your enemies by the crowd. There is that saying, safety in numbers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, you know, this is one that we can apply to everyday life on a regular basis, because to me, this one reads solidly as a request for balance in our life. Okay,
Yes.
right? Balance. In That's something we can all advocate for. Even in business, the go-getter, the A-type personality that's going to work really hard and follow all these rules to the T and be cutthroat is definitely going to get success. But
Well,
there are going to be
here's
sacrifices, right?
yes. This is the way that I like think about think about this kind of thing is that like yes, success is always great, and being able to being financially successful or socially successful is amazing, and you can buy all the things you want and stuff like that. But the biggest flex you could ever have is balance. It is the hardest thing to do all the in general out of
Hmm.
anything you'll ever do in your life. Finding balance, it will top everything,
I
and I
agree.
would put money on that.
No, I agree 100% with that, because, but also that balance is subjective too. It's individual.
Hmm.
Your own
And
balance for it. Like what
that's
you happiness in your life in general, and not just your work life, your personal life. It doesn't mean you have to get married and have kids. It doesn't mean you have to have all of this other stuff going on, but just your own personal balance into, the work life and the not work life and what you're doing on it. Some people
hmm
have careers that they just absolutely love, and that is their great joy,
yeah.
and then they just take a little time off here and there so that they don't burn out, and they're extremely happy. in music, right? Consumed with it
Mm-hmm.
all the time. When you're not out there performing, you're creating behind the scenes, you're writing, whatever, but you're enjoying it. And you just find those quiet moments when you just don't do it. But it's personal to each person, how they find their balance,
Yes.
like what's too much and what's not. And that's the key, is trying to figure it out for yourself, what is too much and not. Because there isn't a book out there that says, spend 60% of the time doing this and 20 this and
Oh,
20 that. That's going to work for
I actually,
everybody.
I guarantee there's a book out there that probably
Oh, there
says,
is.
"Oh,
There
you
are
should."
millions of books out there that say that. But
Yeah.
my point is, it's not going to
There's
work for every person. It just
no.
doesn't. Like, you can't write a book for everybody. Like, it's so personal how you do it. It's just,
Mm,
those books should all just start and end with, balance is an individual thing. It's subjective. We all need it, and you have to find it for yourself. Work on it.
yes. Well,
But they don't. They put 300 pages of trying to tell you how to do it or how
no,
they do
no,
it, and
no,
it's not going to work
no,
for you.
no. It's more like there's 300 pages in the book, and about five and a half of them have any useful information. The rest is literal bloat.
Right.
You you want to know how there's people out there that say that they've read like 500 books in a year?
Oh
They
my
literally
God!
read the
Just reading
synopsis.
100 books in a year is hard. It's very
Uh,
difficult. I've taken that challenge, and it's difficult.
most of these most people that say that they've read a ridiculous amount of books in a year are either lying or just reading the synopsis. I There's no way anyone who has a productive life, like a productive life and has hobbies and stuff like that, can sit down and find the time to read at a reasonable pace with over 100 books. Even
Well,
100, as you said, even 100 books is crazy.
yeah, there's no way.
Maybe if they're small, maybe if they're like novellas, like I know people that
Hello?
can get through a novella a day,
Hello?
and and that's easy enough for some people. But like if you're sitting down and reading some genuinely hardcore or like information dense books, you're not going to get through 100 in a year. Maybe maybe 100, not a lot more. And okay, there is one way. Maybe if you're speed reading.
I don't know. I took that challenge once and failed, but I do try to read like 20 books maybe a year. I do, but I read a lot anyway. Like, I read every day a lot.
Mm,
Mm.
I need to read more.
Hmm. Well, you and I have read quite a few things together. Like, we've actually done
Mhm.
in a year a couple of books. Like, we did Animal Farm. We did with the classics we were reading, and we read some other things. Like, we do. We read that series that Charlie referred to us that was like astronomical, but it took us. There were 3 books in that series. It took us over a year, didn't it?
Yeah, that was a good
A year
one.
and a half. That was a good series. Yeah,
It would
but
absolutely be a great series, like a TV show.
mhm.
But
They did.
it
I
would need to
think
be as brutal as like Attack on Titans.
I think he said they did try it, but it was only 1 season long and it got canceled. I'll have to look. But it was amazing. And now I can't remember the name of the series.
The 12?
That's one of the books. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it
That is,
called?
hold on a second. I'm gonna find it because it's silly to tell people.
Yeah, we're talking about this awesome book, and everyone's like, which book?" Yeah, Jen, which books?
I think it's book 2. Hold on, wasn't it book 2?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
okay. Okay. The series is done by is by Justin Cronin, and
Oh,
it's the
excellent.
Passage series. There you
That's it.
go.
The
It's
Passage.
the Passage series by Justin Cronin, and it's the Passage, the 12 in City of Mirrors, the 3 books, and it's about the fall of civilization and humanity's desperate fight to survive in a very unpredicted circumstance. I
It's a
recommend it highly.
it's a
I really
zombie
do.
book.
Yeah, no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Um,
Yeah.
it kind of follows the same respects as a zombie thing, but it's there is more to it. I will say the second book, when it goes back in time, I actually find this a lot with most books or most stories go back in time to try and explain what happened before the disaster.
Mm-hmm.
I always find those parts in movies and those parts in books to be slow
Right.
and
Well, this.
and, and a bit of a slog.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And it,
they were huge books. Each one
yeah,
was huge. Yeah. Yeah.
each one was
Well,
over 300 pages, I think.
we're talking 800. What are you talking about? Well, you didn't read it. I read it too. Like, I read it out
No,
loud.
yeah, that was
We're
more like
talking
800 each.
600 to 800
Six,
pages,
six
depending
to eight
on which book
hundred.
it was. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about, dude? 300 pages is like light work.
I said more than 300 pages, so
Yeah.
technically I am right.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know if you're right.
I
I have to
may be
double it.
under exaggerating it, but you
I
know,
would severely if I have to double it, dude. Like, come on. All right, let's get. Why don't we?
I was only
Speaking
off
of,
by what? A little bit.
but 300 to
100
400.
here and there.
All right. So speaking of reading, we're going to have you get to it because we're going to talk about how this law about not isolating, even if you do have a good book, it's good to read on your own. I get it, but you don't want to stay there like endlessly. Let's read some examples of the transgression of how not using the law could be very bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think you take it first. Would you like to do the transgression?
Yes. Shall I read the judgment first?
I did, didn't I?
Wait. No. Did you read the judgment?
Yes, I
Did
did.
Claire read? You did? Oh, and then we just had a massive talk. That's right.
That's right. Then we just got off 10. I'm bringing us back, Rekkr. I'm bringing us back. We're on path. We are back on track.
The train
Yes, we
is
got
back
off
on the
track a little
tracks.
bit, but I'm pulling into the station, telling you to get behind the wheel and read the transgression.
Okay. So, the transgression. Qin Shi Huang Ti, first emperor of China, 221 to 210 BC. Wait. Oh, that's when he. For some reason, I
That's when
thought
he
that
was
was
the
like
first
his
emperor.
life, how long he was alive. I was like, wait a
No,
minute.
no, no. That's when he was the
Yeah, that's when he
first
was the
emperor
emperor.
of China. Yeah.
Was the mightiest man of his day. His empire was vast and more powerful than that of Alexander the Great. He had conquered all of the kingdoms surrounding his kingdom of Qin and unified them into one massive realm called China. But in the vast years of his life, few, if anyone, saw him. The emperor lived in the most magnificent palace built to that date. In the capital of Xiangyang, the palace had 270 pavilions. All of these were connected by secret underground passageways, allowing the emperor to move through the palace without anyone seeing him. He slept in a different room every night, and anyone who inadvertently laid eyes on him was instantly beheaded.
Ooh,
Only a
rough.
handful of men knew his whereabouts, and if they revealed it to anyone, they too were put to death. The first emperor had grown so terrified of human contact that when he had to leave the palace, he traveled incognito, disguising himself carefully. On one such trip through the province, he suddenly died. His body was borne back to the capital in the emperor's carriage, with a cart packed with salted fish trailing behind
Oh,
it to cover up the smell of the rotting corpse. No
wow.
one was to know of his death. He died alone, far from his wives, his family, his friends, and his courtiers, accompanied only by a minister and a handful of eunuchs.
My goodness. This is definitely a sad story of how
Mm-hmm.
isolation can really turn bad. So, I mean, fish, stinking fish.
Each to their own, I guess.
Hmm. I mean, seriously crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, the interpretation goes, Xing Hang Ti started off as the king of China, a fearless warrior of unbridled ambition. Writers of the time described him as a man with a waspish nose, eyes like slits, the voice of a jackal, and the heart of a tiger or wolf.
Hmm.
He could be merciful sometimes, but more often he swallowed men up without a scruple. It was through trickery and violence that he conquered the province surrounding his own and created China, forging a single nation and culture out of many. He broke up the feudal system, and to keep an eye on the many members of the royal families that were scattered across the realms and realms' various kingdoms, he moved 120,000 of them to the capital, where he housed the most important courtiers in the vast palace of Xiangyang. He consolidated the many walls on the borders and built them into the Great Wall of China. He standardized the country's laws and written language, even the size of its cartwheels. Now that's some controlling behavior.
Mm-hmm.
As part of this process of unification, however, the first emperor outlawed the writings and teachings of Confucius, the philosopher whose ideas on the moral life had already become virtually a religion in Chinese culture. On Shi Hangzi's order, thousands of books relating to Confucius were burned, and anyone who quoted Confucius was beheaded. Smart.
Hmm.
This made many enemies for the emperor, yes, it would, and he grew constantly afraid, even paranoid. The executions mounted. A contemporary, the writer Han Fei Su, noted that Xian had been victorious for 4 generations, yet had lived in constant terror and apprehension of destruction. As the emperor withdrew deeper and deeper into the palace to protect himself, he slowly lost control of the realm. Eunuchs and ministers enacted political policies without his approval or even his knowledge. They also plotted against him. By the end, he was emperor in name only, and was so isolated that barely anyone knew he had died. He had probably been poisoned by the same scheming ministers who encouraged his isolation. That is what isolation brings: retreat into a fortress, and you lose contact with the source of your power. You lose your ear for what is happening around you, as well as the sense of proportion. Instead of being safer, you cut yourself off from the kind of knowledge on which your life depends. Never enclose yourself so far from the streets that you cannot hear what is happening around you, including the plots against you.
Wow. So that really shows how, cutting himself off and limiting who he was exposed to just led to that paranoia
Mm-hmm.
and overzealous reprimands. I mean, if you saw him, you died. Like, come on! Like they beheaded people for just seeing him. Like,
Oh yeah.
whoa, this is like too much. Yeah.
I have to admit to him outlawing all those teachings and stuff was a brilliant
Well,
play to try and unify his country around him.
not to unify them, it actually ostracized him because Confucius was so popular. It was like almost like a religion, and it's a very peaceful book. But he just did.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was not
But it's still
brilliant.
China today, right?
It's still China today, and they do still
Exactly.
they listen to Confucius.
Confucius still exists, but he still managed to unify his nation to the point where it is still China today.
I don't think
His
the
play was
destroying of the book did that. I think the destroying of the book
no,
led
it
to
it
his
played a
demise.
it played a
Yeah.
role in keeping his order unified and keeping his own rule as the sole
By
ideas.
terror. By
Oh,
terror.
absolutely. That is
And
absolutely how you would want to do it if you were an emperor.
not if you
Uh,
want to stay there for very long, because when you lead by terror and you
he
silence all
died.
the voices around you, you are going to definitely, people are going to be pushing back on you. You're going to have like
Oh,
rebellion.
absolutely.
You're going to
But
have coups. Like, yeah,
he was still successful. The only reason he died was because he isolated himself. If he
that
hadn't
is
have,
a no. But here, that's what I mean. Like you're calling that successful. I calling a man that has to live in the dungeon and kill people if they even see him. This does not sound like success to me. This was a man that
he
ostracized
he did
himself.
manage to achieve his goal though. That's the
Yeah,
thing. He did manage to achieve his goal so successfully that it still holds today.
true. Well, once you unify something, that was the easy part for people to take over afterwards and just keep it going, which
Hmm.
led to it being China that it is today. But you have to admit,
Absolutely.
it's not. I'm sorry, I just don't see this as a success story.
That's fair. I
This
think
is
it very
this.
much
That's
is.
why it's called transgression of the law, because
No, the transgression of the law is that he isolated himself. It wasn't not because he wasn't successful. He was absolutely
well,
successful
then I ask
in
you
what
this:
he
if
was.
he didn't isolate himself, do you think he would have been more successful?
Um,
Do you
to
think
an
he would have had
extent,
more
yeah.
opportunity to grow China further along instead of just unifying them and then putting them in fear of going against him no matter what? Don't you think he could have unified them into common goals and actually worked for the people, for better lives for the people?
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you think he could have had a better name than just dying alone with rotten, stinking fish around him and nobody even knows he's dead? Like that
Absolutely. But
is, to me, this
you
is not a success story because he could have done so much more. You're right. Unifying China, unifying
but
the people under his rule through fear and oppression. Okay, let's get that straight. Through fear and oppression, he unified China. They were afraid to do anything
no, he
except
created
for what he
China.
wanted. He created China, a people that were afraid to do anything against whatever he said. Okay,
Hmm.
but he could have did so much better if he didn't
But
turn
that's
into a
like
paranoid
saying
freak.
that's everything though. Like if you're gonna say that, then nothing is ever a success because you can always do
No, no,
something
no,
better.
because not everybody turns into a paranoid freak. Like, not everybody takes that win and then turns it into what he did. He took a
But did
win
he?
and turned it into not such a good win. He really did.
But he got what he wanted. He absolutely got exactly what he wanted. He succeeded in doing what he wanted.
I'm sorry. I'm
It
going to
was
have to push back
success.
on you. There's so many people get what they want. So
Hmm.
many people get what they want. It
Yep.
doesn't mean it's success.
Yeah, that's success. Get if you getting what you want, that is successfully achieving a
Okay.
goal.
I'm gonna play wordplay here. Is the difference
Mm-hmm.
between accomplishment and success. Success is so much bigger a word, Rekkr. In my language, success is well-rounded, and it's not a minimal goal. Success is the whole picture. Is success is what it looks like from other people and yourself, and not the single-minded goal of what you wanted. That's accomplishment in endeavor. That's like something else. What you're saying is he accomplished his goal. Great. But is that success? I say no. Because if everybody else looks at it, this man died with stinking fish, and his people were oppressed and afraid to even say. And they got beheaded for even looking at him because he wouldn't even
Success.
let people know where he was because that's how many people were targeting him. He had more enemies than allies. He was afraid to be out in public. This is not a success story.
Success doesn't necessarily have to be a positive thing, though. It doesn't always have to have a perfectly positive outcome. There are people who are successful who are not good people, who do not do great things.
I
There
accept that.
are there are there are weapons traders who are incredibly successful, and you
I
couldn't
get that,
argue with
but
the idea that they're incredibly successful, but what
I'd
they're
say
doing
that
is absolutely not great.
I just don't look at this as a success story. Not with the outcome that happened at the end. And not with the people all being against him, having so many enemies. That's not success. Success is getting what you want and your goal and being able to keep it and have people recognize it for the success it was. The
Hang on,
people of
no,
China, the people of China don't
wait.
even recognize it as a
Hang on.
success because they're so oppressed.
You just said success is getting what you want and holding it. It is still China. It is literally still China. It is 100% success. He got what he wanted, and he not only held it for his lifetime, but he has held it for, but it has been held for hundreds upon hundreds of generations. If
On that, you got me. It's still China.
it
Yes.
is,
Yes, I will agree to disagree and go with what Jin said. He failed successfully. Yes, he did.
in a sense,
In a sense, he did accomplish what he wanted. But the price, and this is the point of this exercise, Rekkr, whatever your belief about his success is, for this chapter, he
mm-hmm.
failed because it's the transgression of the law. He did not use it appropriately. He isolated himself, and
At the
therefore
end of his life,
destruction occurred. No, after he unified them. He was there for a really long time. Not just like a couple of years at the end. This was a long time. Like people were beheaded. People were dying.
Yep.
He destroyed the Tao, like the Confucius book. And he had enemies everywhere. Like,
Absolutely.
that's why he went into as isolation through his own harshness with trying to do what he did and went into isolation to protect himself, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. So like it wasn't just like a couple of years at the end of his life. That's when he died. Like he died and people didn't know for the longest time he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because people were ruling for him because he couldn't really rule because he had no information.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's what I mean. Like for the purpose of this chapter, like that's why I'm pushing back on the success word, because for the purpose of this chapter, it would not be.
But that has nothing. That's the transgression is besides the success. The transgression is just the isolation, not a success.
He accomplished his endeavor. I'll give you that.
Fair.
But it's not a success story, because the success story is the whole thing. And
It's
if you
still
look at
China.
the whole, it is still China, and so he accomplished his endeavor of making it China.
Yes.
But
is that not in your own words? You said is accomplishing your goals. His goal was to have one nation called, and he created that.
That part of it is an accomplishment. Absolutely. Can't take that away from him. But this is not a success story.
They believed he died of of poisoning, Mr. C.
They think his enemies that were actually they were actually the only people he talked to, which were the people around him, actually poisoned him
Mm-hmm.
when he was away from court. Yep, traveling. Yep, and then they put him in a cart and surrounded him with stinking fish, so nobody would know there was a dead body, so nobody
Yep.
knew he was dead. Yeah, but anyway, that is how not to do it. Shall we talk about Louis XIV and how you should do it?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about a real success story here.
In your
Okay,
opinion.
in my humble opinion. For observance of the law, if you'll allow me, Louis XIV had the Palace of Versailles built for him and his court in the 1660s, and it was like no other royal palace in the world. As in a beehive, everything revolved around the royal person. He lived surrounded by nobility, who were allotted apartments nestled around his, their closeness to him depending on their rank. The king's bedroom occupied the literal center of the palace and was the focus of everyone's attention. Every morning, the king was greeted in his room by a ritual known as the lever. At 8 a.m., the king's first valet, who slept at the foot of the royal bed, would awaken his majesty. Then pages would open the door and admit those who had a function in the lever. The order of their entry was precise. First came the king's illegitimate sons and his grandchildren, then the princes and princesses of the blood, and then his physician and surgeon. There followed the grand officers of the wardrobe, the king's official reader, and those in charge of entertaining the king. Next would arrive various government officials in ascending order of rank. Last but not least came those attending the lever by special invitation. By the end of the ceremony, the room would be packed with well over 100 royal attendants and visitors. The day was organized so that all the palace's energy was directed at and passed through the king. Louis was constantly attended by courtiers and officials, all asking for his advice and judgment. To all their questions, he usually just replied, I shall see. As St. Simon noted, if he turned to someone, asked him a question, made an insignificant remark, the eyes of all present were turned on this person. It was a distinction that was talked of in increased prestige. There was no possibility of privacy in the palace, not even for the king. Every room communicated with another, and every hallway led to larger rooms where groups of nobles gathered constantly. Everyone's actions were interdependent, and nothing and no one passed unnoticed. The king not only saw to it that all the high nobility was present at his court, wrote St. Simon, he demanded the same of the minor nobility. At his lever and cocher, at his meals, in his gardens of Versailles, he always looked about him, noticing everything. He was offended if the most distinguished nobles did not live permanently at court, and those who showed themselves never or hardly ever incurred his full displeasure. If one of these desired something, the king would say proudly, I do not know him, and the judgment was irrevocable. So, Louis XIV was one who kept everybody there at court. You remember, Louis XIV had when he became king, the nobles didn't want a king. They wanted to all rule their provinces on their own. Okay, because the noble of their province and their land could make the rules on their own. And
Was
they
that
were
serfdom? Is that what it's called?
yeah,
Serfdom?
like serfdom, right? Something like that. And so the best way to keep it all united after they started to have the king and unite everything to where everything was under the rule of the royals, right, they had to keep the nobles all in check. So what better way than to have them all at court?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone of any high rank had to be at court, where he knew what they were thinking, he knew who they were talking to, he knew what they were saying. It was a way to keep the information and to keep sabotage, to a minimum, so to speak. It also showed them some prestige. They felt a little honored. I mean, anybody who knows anything about Versailles, it was the most grand palace ever. It's called the Sun Palace, right? And isn't Louis XIV the Sun King? Like, because of the way everything was gold and bright and nature and art. In his palace was quite formidable and beautiful. The entertainment, and he treated people pretty well. I mean, if you went to court, it was a
Wasn't that
pretty high
only?
distinction.
Wasn't that because he got jealous of one of his courtiers? Who was it?
I don't know if
It
it
was
was a
in one of the
courtier.
other. It was in no, not a courtier. It was in one of the other laws. The
It
guy
was not.
who
It was another country, and he got jealous of somebody else's something, and he built it. But
it
basically,
was a
he used to
party.
be the biggest.
The guy threw a party and was like showing him all this stuff, and then he got him executed because he was doing better than him. And then he had the Palace of Versailles built.
They could possibly be because Louis was a little quirky.
Oh,
He is one of my favorite kings, though. I love stories of Louis XIV. Actually,
was it
he
Never
is.
Outshine the Master?
I think it was he never outshined the master. We'll have to go back and look. Well, there's a very short interpretation here because, well, Louis XIV came to power at the end of a terrible civil war, like I was telling, called the Fronde. A principal instigator of the war had been the nobility, like I said, which deeply resented the growing power of the throne and yearned for the days of feudalism, when the lords ruled their own fiefdoms and the king had little authority over them. The nobles had lost the civil war, but they remained fractious and very resentful. On the construction of Versailles, then, was far more than decadent whim of luxury-loving king. It served a crucial function. The king could keep an eye and an ear on everyone and everything around him. The once proud nobility was reduced to squabbling over the right to help the king put on his robes in the morning. There was no possibility here of privacy, no possibility of isolation. Louis XIV very early grasped the truth that for a king to isolate himself is gravely dangerous. In his absence, conspiracies will spring up like mushrooms after rain, animosities will crystallize into factions, and rebellion will break out before he has time to react. To combat this, sociability and openness must not only be encouraged, they must be formally organized and channeled. These conditions at Versailles lasted for Louis's entire reign, some 50 years of relative peace and tranquility. Through it all, not a pin dropped without Louis hearing it. Now that's a success story. What'd you say?
I'm sure he could have done better.
I'm sure he could have. Like, he was a bit of a scoundrel. He wasn't very nice to certain people, but yeah. But 50 years of peace and tranquility. Oh, in
It
Rekkr,
definitely is a type of success.
yes, ain't not a stinking fish around. Mm, yeah. So, like, that's a good observance of it. But you see how there's balance there. Like, he just didn't want to socialize and live the high life. It actually had a function,
I mean, it
right?
wasn't really that balanced. He had everyone visible.
But he was enjoying his life. I mean, it wasn't like he terrorized him. Listen, not once did he say, "If you look
Wait,
at me, I'll take off your head." Like
wait,
that.
did he?
No, he didn't. They didn't walk in the
Didn't
room
he?
and like, "Oh, there's the king." Off with his head. Like nobody died from being around the king. He socialized with them, but he did keep
He
his authority.
socially killed people. He said, "I don't know them," and then nothing, and then they were
That was if you
ostracized.
tried to schmooze him, like if because he didn't
If
like
he
to be
didn't like
schmoozed.
you, he was
No,
like, "I don't know him."
even though he'd standing right next to you every day for a week.
Yep.
But that's about the balance of authority when you are the king, trying to be social with everybody and make it like, you know, this is a good thing, and then still keeping your authority and some bit of like, I am the one running the show and you will listen to everything I say, you know, and don't push me. Don't push me. No, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll let you read the quote and then we'll. Jin push.
Solitude.
Okay, go ahead.
Oop.
No, go ahead.
Solitude is dangerous to reason, without being favorable to virtue. Remember that a solitary mortal is certainly luxurious, probably what?
Superstitious.
Probably superstitious and possibly mad.
Yep. And that's what Jin is referring to. Alice in Wonderland. We're all mad here. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But what that means is everyone like to have time to yourself is a luxury. Yes, especially in this very overcrowded world that we exist in, no matter where you are. You can't go far without running into people.
Exactly.
And so, you know, solitary, being on your own is a luxury. You know, people crave it, a little time for yourself, whatever. But it also can lead too much of it to getting paranoid and superstitious and worried about things. In the end, going mad, like the king in the first example, the emperor Tai in China. Yeah, is it Tai
Yep.
or T? It's Ti.
She.
Tai? She? She?
She. I believe.
She. Okay.
It's
So
like it's a T-ish sound.
a TS. So all right. So Emperor
She.
Chi, C, whatever. Yeah, him. That guy.
That
The
guy.
stinking. That guy. The stinking fish guy.
Mm-hmm.
The first emperor of China. Um. Yeah, he went pretty much mad, I would say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This reminds me of an example that maybe Americans will know. And he was kind of famous. So maybe, you know, maybe Europeans and yourself would also. Howard Hughes. Do you know who Howard Hughes was?
Not a clue.
He was rich. He was an entrepreneur. He liked to fly. He was an investor. He invented things. He's quite into everything. But during his life, he became more and more reclusive. And at first, it was thought to be just quirky, and he just spent a lot of time on his own. But the more and more that he was away, he lost touch with reality. He lost touch. He could not do business ventures anymore. He couldn't run his big companies. He was quite successful. He's a billionaire, one of our first American like richest people around, you know. And he had great ideas and everything, but it slowly started to fall apart because like he didn't trust anybody. He wasn't talking with anybody. He wasn't getting any outside information. He didn't have his pulse on what was going on in the business world or trends or events or anything that was happening. And he ended up going like stark raving mad, like pretty much, you know, and just completely disappeared.
That sounds about right.
Mm. So there has to be a balance, and I think that is something that really needs to be focused on, you know, with this particular chapter. Well, moving on. You want to read the image?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
So, the fortress high up on the hill, the citadel becomes a symbol of all that is hateful in power and authority. The citizens of the town betray you to the first enemy that comes. Cut off from communication and intelligence, the citadel falls with ease.
Mm-hmm. And so did the emperorship of the first emperor of China.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the people it was the force of so many people being against him and him being cut off from everything that he completely betrayed and killed and ended up dying. like, alone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunate, but we often hear about that. If you rule from such a place, such a high place of authority, that the people below you don't feel heard or seen, or that you're relating to them in any way, you're totally going to get a rebellion, and this is going to happen.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
isolation from everyone, it's not going to be a good thing, no matter what
No.
realm of authority you're in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so the authority from the book says that a good and wise prince, desirous of maintaining that character and to avoid giving the opportunity to his sons to become oppressive, will never build fortresses, so that they may place their reliance upon the goodwill of their subjects and not upon the strengths of citadels. In other words, not from ruling high up and closed off, but being people of the people and understanding what the people want, and having the perception that they are in some way above them but still part of them. And that's from Niccolo Machiavelli. And this picture shows that these getting accolades and they're socializing, but they're obviously of authority, but nobody seems around them to resent them for being the king and the prince, right? they they're being accepted because they are trying, to keep that authority, but still some recognition to the needs and the wants of the people. So,
Absolutely.
which I think is key. Like, even in business, like, definitely in business. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it, because this is something we all strive with. We all have some experience, some difficulty with this subject in general. Would you agree? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Oh,
we all
absolutely.
face periods of isolation. We all we're all trying to balance our lives in this very, very busy world where we've got so much technology. There's online, that real life, like when I mean physical life in general, day to day is so hectic. Many people are juggling work and home. Some people with more than one job. And some those of us that are trying to balance work in a home life with raising children, and some even have like trying to educate their children at home. They, while working and while doing everything else, it's like very, very hectic. So then you long for some time to yourself, but what you don't want to do is completely isolate. It like sounds so luxurious, right? To just like have like a whole week by yourself somewhere with nothing. I think we all
Mm-hmm.
dream of vacations like that. I mean, give me a cabin in the woods with snow outside, a good fire, and I've got my tea and whatever I need inside and a couple of good books. I'm happy. I think I could even live there for a few days without the internet, actually, and I'd be quite happy, just lounging around and napping and reading,
Mm.
sipping tea. I mean, sounds kind of luxurious, doesn't it? I know some of you are going, "You're so boring, Bear. Like, that sounds so dull." I'd have to bring my skis and my gun, and I'd have to hunt and fish, and like I couldn't do that. Like, true, true. It'll be different for everybody, right?
Yep. I
Well,
know me. I
I,
I I find a little bit of isolation very helpful for being creative. I find
mhm.
if I don't uh like disappear for a little while, I tend to like fumble a lot around if I'm trying to be more creative.
Mhm. And that's very common. Like, everybody has a routine, right? Do you have a routine where you take yourself by yourself to do something creative? Like, do you make it like a daily thing? Well,
Yeah, I do. I mean I I play music a bunch,
mhm.
but other than that, like I'll write and listen to music and yeah.
I do. I find time, even as crazy as currently home right now is pretty hectic with a lot of responsibilities. I do find some quiet time when I first get up every morning for either a cup of coffee or tea and to read and just be settled myself, like just by myself. No internet, nobody coming into my room, like just quiet. And I need just that little bit of time, just that little bit. Then I'm like kind of ready for the day.
Mm,
And I notice that those days I don't get that, I really suffer. Like I really do suffer through the day. Like I don't
mm-hmm.
feel like I feel like I start the day running is not good, you know.
Mm.
Like I want to start the day on a nice walk. I don't want to start the day running, you know. But all right, so we've got here some psychological cons of isolation. Do you want to take the first one and then I'll take the second and we'll go that way?
Okay.
Okay.
So, emotional and cognitive deterioration. Prolonged social isolation correlates with higher rates of depression, anxiety, and self deletion ideation. Loneliness intensifies negative self talk and emotional dysregulation, as well as isolation can alter how the brain processes emotions and stress, leading to distorted perceptions, paranoia, and impaired cognitive function over time.
That's what happened to Howard Hughes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then self-reinforcing advanced loop. Um, Spending too much time alone makes even normal social interactions feel awkward or exhausting, which increases avoidance and deepens isolation. People who withdraw often cancel plans, feel relief when they do, and then they lose social skills and confidence, reinforcing a cycle of retreat. In other words, it feels good at first, but they're actually making it a bigger problem. It becomes harder and harder to get out there and socialize when they just make it too easy to retreat. That's why I keep saying balance is the key, and it's an individual thing. It's true that in this day and age, don't we all? Some of us have anxiety. I know I do. Sometimes there's periods of time where you feel just so overwhelmed you cannot function socially like that in a manner that you feel would be adequate or that you want to represent yourself that way, and so you retreat for a little bit. And that's fine to take those kind of breaks, and that's fine to take care of yourself that way, but you can't make it a permanent kind of thing. It's going to be detriment to everything else you want to accomplish. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
like take for example the inventor who has a really great idea and spends years developing it in isolation all by himself. Okay, creates it, gets it all ready, brings it out there to market it, and he's got no connections. He's got no marketing, and he just found out that somebody else was out there 6 months before and got the deal, and it's being produced in another factory somewhere. I mean, heartbreaking, you know? You know what I mean? But he would have known that somebody else was working on it if he had been just a little more social and not as isolated. Just a little bit of information could have saved him some time, could have sped up his process or found out how the other guy's doing and at least worked on investments and making some connections for his product so that he could actually say why his product was better or different. You know what I mean? But yeah, can you imagine just you know, just like being in a hut for all that time, come out and then just wondering why the world doesn't know who you are and what you got.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's like you can't put yourself on an island and then wonder why you're not getting any mail. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you just it's a fine balance, it is it's not easy, and I'm laughing because of the absurdity of the island thing, but still it's not an easy thing to accomplish. It's what I think every single person struggles with these. I do. um okay, you can do this one and I'll do part two.
Psychological cons of isolation. Behavioral and physical fallout. Socially isolated individuals are more likely to show higher stress, worse sleep, less exercise, and poor health behaviors, which feed back into mood and cognition. Isolation is linked with increased substance use, antisocial behavior, and higher risk of serious physical outcomes such as cardiovascular problems.
Oh boy,
Hmm.
well, doesn't sound good at all. But it,
No.
you know, it doesn't. And so, I mean, we need time to ourselves, but the balance is in not making it the only thing that we do. I think, like everything,
Mm.
moderation, right? You,
Yes.
how does this intersect with power? A psyche shaped by chronic isolation becomes more reactive, paranoid, and fragile, undermining the cool, outward focused strategic perception needed for power moves. In business, if they're not familiar with you, if you're not out there being the focused, straight, go-to person, talking to people, networking, how are you possibly going to get any of your goals accomplished? Like, how are you ever going to move up? You know, um, it's just like the opposite of what is conductive to success in a business type situation or in an endeavor or goal oriented type situation.
Hmm.
Isolate, right? Like isolation makes it harder to read people, anticipate betrayal, or exploit opportunities. Not because the person is less intelligent, but because their social calibration and emotional bandwidth erode. You know, you've got to build a catalog of reading people to be able to read people. And if you're not out there actually around people, where does that information come from? If you're not hearing the little things, getting the little, noticing the patterns of maybe somebody working against you or moving towards the same goal as you in a competitive manner, you've got to be there to witness that. If you're on the island, no one's going to send you a telegram to tell you about it. Well, they might, but then you have to wonder, are they telling you about it and it's true and they're just trying to rile you up? Or like, are they causing trouble? Like, getting the telegram is not the same as you getting the information yourself from multiple sources or from the situation, casing out the situation yourself. Right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah. So it's like, you gotta, what is that? You gotta be in it to win it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You got to be in it to win it. In networking, in business, and in social circles, in any kind of endeavor that you want to do, even for this, right, Rekkr, for networking, in YouTube, isn't it necessary? I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
there are people who never talk to anybody else that have YouTube channels, and I guess it's okay. But there is some networking, whether you're talking to the chat or even speaking out into the universe, as you do with a microphone when you're talking to all those people you can't see and you don't hear from. You're still like trying to network in some way. You're still trying to communicate with the masses, and you're still trying to be part of something larger and not isolate away.
Exactly.
So now that we talked about all the negativity of isolation and why it's bad for you, when we talk about the pros of socializing for mental health and personal gain, and how, I personally think, just being around people in general a little bit it can just change your outlook of life. Sometimes just one conversation with somebody can change your mood, can change your outlook on something, can give you information you didn't think of, can spark an idea in you. Or, like you said, a little bit of creativity. I mean, I know you've said you need to be alone to work on your creativity sometimes, but do you not get sparks of ideas and creativity from other people and other situations that you find yourself in day to day?
Um. Sometimes. A lot of the time, I actually find a lot of the time it hampers my creativity.
It does. Too much coming in.
Mm. Well, it's just sort of like if I get an idea, it's a lot harder to write it down when you're in the middle of talking to people. I've actually been told off for doing that. I went.
I actually would
I got an
encourage that.
idea. I got
I
an
don't think
idea, and it was in the middle of a conversation with a group of my friends, and I went to go write it down, and they're like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just writing an idea." And I'm like, "We're in the middle of a conversation. Don't be rude." And I'm like, uh, um, uh,
See, I would encourage that. I think writing down an idea when it comes is necessary. Like absolutely. I would try to understand it. It
I
wasn't me. I just YouTube, just no, he's not talking about me. I would never do
no,
that. I would not
no.
do that.
I and it,
Mhm.
I wouldn't. I don't let people stop me from writing down ideas anymore. Like if I
No,
had an
don't.
idea in the middle of this stream, that you're guaranteed I'm just disappearing for
You
however long I need
have.
to write it down.
You have done that. Like when we're talking about something about the stream, you have done that. You said you will say hold it. You say pause, hold 1 minute, and then you would be really quiet in writing like whatever. And I know you're writing, and I think that's perfectly fine as long as you tell the person what you're doing. I don't find that rude at all. I don't find that rude at all. You know,
Mm.
I think they'd be flattered that they sparked some creativity in you in something they said. Definitely that's what conversation and dealing with people is all about. So
Mm.
okay, so let's do it. Okay, you want to start with the first one?
Yes, I can start with the first one. Psychological and emotional benefits. Strong social connections are associated with lower levels of anxiety and depression, higher self esteem, and greater resilience to stress. Positive social interactions trigger the release of endorphins and a buffering effect against stress, thereby improving mood and emotional stability.
Hmm. Well, this those are very positive things, and I think dealing with other people can give you good self-esteem. You know, being told good things about yourself, getting along with people, finding things in common with them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, even when you're like a nerd like myself, I love hanging out with other people who are a bit nerdy, and I don't like so I can express my inner nerd and feel good about it. Not trying to
Mm-hmm.
hide it. But okay, number two is the cognitive, strategic, and status benefits. Social networks provide diverse information streams, perspectives, and early warning signals, which are central to Green's idea of maintaining power. Being perceived as socially connected and cooperative makes others more willing to trust and cooperate with you, creating a positive feedback loop of influence and opportunity. Excuse me for one moment. You go on with the next.
Okay. Um. Oh shoot. Where is it? Where is it? Uh. Okay. Long-term health survival. Sorry. Long-term health and survival benefits. Robust social ties are linked with lower mortality risks. One large meta-analysis found social connections improve odds of survival by about 50%. People with strong relationships generally report better overall quality of life and recovery from illnesses, both mental and physical. In
And
Green's power frame, oh, sorry.
oh
Yeah,
no, that's
that's
okay.
your turn.
No, but going on that, that's so true that if you're recovering from an illness, or let's just even put it in smaller terms, like you're having a real bad day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's just going wrong. Talking to just one person about that, like not complaining or whatever, or just saying something and just getting into a conversation, not involved with it, can make it a little bit better, right? It can just make it like help change your perspective of it, help you just laugh at something about it. and
Exactly.
move it forward. Connections with others, even just one person, have been proven to lengthen, shorten recovery periods, giving people things to look forward to, like changing attitude in just helping people recover from illness in all kinds of situations, setbacks, so to say, uh, it actually works. And it's our interaction and our connections with people, because we can't deny it. Humans are not solitary creatures.
No,
We can
we're
function solitary, but not for very long. Like, if you read a lot of sci-fi, then they project in the future where each person's living in a bubble, and we all simply just become smaller and smaller in our personality and in our desires and in our creativity, without interaction with others. We don't seem to grow. We become stagnant, and we actually start to shrink as far as the whole human. You know, it's possible to live individually, physically, for a while.
mm,
It actually does such detriment to our mental health in just how we look at things. In, like, all those movies of survivors on an island where one person is there and they're talking to a coconut, you know, um, they are often stark raving mad by the time they're rescued from the solitude. From,
yep.
you know, it, it's
That's why
sad.
a lot of uh, inmates that end up in isolation or solitary confinement for long periods of time end up having like huge amounts of mental health issues.
Hmm. Hmm. And then they say there are people who are hermits and people who do like to keep to themselves. But you notice they still have to go out to get groceries or shop, or they're out sometime, and they do have some interaction. Even if to them it feels like a negative one, they're still having some interaction, which
Mm-hmm.
actually helps for their mental health, believe it or not. Like, because there's that stimulus, even
Exactly.
if they find it unpleasant. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so in Green's power frame, socializing is not just for emotional comfort. It is a strategic asset that enhances intelligence gathering, alliance building, reputation management, and leverage. That's all goal oriented, very business minded, or goal oriented in general. Like, you want to accomplish something in your career. Like, for yourself, Rekkr, you want to be a musician. Socializing is going to be part of it. It's going to have to be, right? You not only work on your craft on your own, but in order to be known for your craft, this part is essential.
Yeah, I need to start finding some open mic nights.
Well, you do stream on Twitch every day right now during
That
during
is
your break
true.
from
I
uni.
do.
So that's pretty open mic. I mean, you're strumming and singing every day. So, it's your own personal open mic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there's no entry fee at the door or anything like that. So, like, it's free. Like, everybody
That
go
is true.
watch. The key is intentional connection, circulating with purpose, listening more than you speak, and using social presence to monitor, influence, and protect yourself rather than hiding. In other words, like, getting the information, working those connections, they're all going to come in handy later. You cannot be successful in business without it. Like, nobody, like, say you are the best inventor out there and you got the best product. You can't walk cold into a room where you know no one, nothing, anything, and unless you got this wonderful personality that just shines and takes over everything. I don't think you're going to be able to get that deal or get it sold or get investors. The networks really work, you know.
No, there's many stories of very, very, very skilled and talented people that everything nothing goes right because their sociability is just not there.
You know who I think of when you say that? Well, who popped into my mind is one of my. Is I want to have dinner with this man so bad. But Nikola Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Nikola Tesla, he was quirky and he just didn't function well. He got taken advantage of a lot. Like, he had the best ideas, like, and brilliant, but hmm, socially inept. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
So,
still somehow was a womanizer? That's what I want to know.
well, did you see that smoky look he had? I gotta show you a
I
picture
I
of him.
mean, yeah.
I mean, they caught a picture of him in black and white. It looks like he's staring into your soul. I don't know a woman alive or half the men I know that look at that picture and say, God damn. There was something going on with that man. There definitely was. That look was smoldering. He
I
was,
mean, I guess it's like maximum aura farming when you're standing between massive electrical Tesla coils blasting billions of volts across the room, and you're the one that created it. It's sort of like maximum aura at that point.
I would think so. Well, he just looked intelligent, smoldery. I don't know. He just had this look. But I will tell you, my brothers have always told me crazy can be quite attractive for like 5 minutes or so.
There's a reason. There's absolutely a reason why there is that saying.
Yeah. I mean, everybody likes a little crazy. Well, no.
Yep.
Mm. But anyway, it just reminds me like of how you can be so intelligent, a genius, and have all these ideas, and nothing actually comes from it because of social ineptness. Like you're not able to actually function out there that well, which is why you have to keep working at it and getting better. He just chose to isolate and work on his stuff a little too much, instead of dealing with the other part of the issue. Well,
Yes.
like Howard Hughes. I mean, we probably got tons of examples if I really, but we should get on to the questions so we can finish on a reasonable amount of time. So, the first one, I hope you can help me answer, Rekkr, and those in the chat. And those of you later listening, please, if you want to answer any of these questions, hit the comments. Rekkr and I love to hear from you, and we will answer you. We answer all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to hear what your thoughts. We really do. So the first one is, where is the line between healthy solitude or focus, recovery, and deep work, and destructive isolation that corrodes perception and power? Hmm.
That is a good question.
It is.
Once again, balance. The hardest thing you'll ever do is find balance.
Yeah. You know what? I wholeheartedly agree with that. I was hoping that's what you said. I think it's an individual thing. You have to find your individual balance for it. But
And
the
that's
truth is, you got to be in both. Like, you can't completely isolate, nor can you completely be out there socializing without any isolation for yourself, too, because you'll be burnt out in either direction if you do too much of either.
and that is very much where the difficulty comes, because someone might see your isolation as being too much, where other people might see your isolation as being not enough.
Mhm.
And it is very easy to get pressured into less isolation than might be healthy for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's definitely individual, and it's all in the perception of it. And I missed a comment before that was pretty, is a good point on Jean's here. Remember when you said that you stopped in the middle of a conversation to write an idea down? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jean said, would they have been so rude if it was their idea you were writing down? Because I kind of doubt it. I doubt it too. I think they should have been flattered that they inspired, an idea or some creativity. I know I would. So, yeah.
Some
But
people are weird like that.
that was a good answer. I'll let you read the second question. And
Okay. Can someone wield power effectively purely through digital networks, or does Law 18 apply that physical presence and embodied circulation remains essential? I would say that it is absolutely possible. There's a reason why we have influencers now.
Exactly. And they actually are successful by just online media. But I would
Mm-hmm.
say in the real world, and we're not talking the influencer world, in everyday life, if we're talking everyday life, I would say it's a balance. I would say you could predominantly do all your networking through the internet and everything, but there's something to be said about the personal connection too. I'm not saying go out there and meet a million people. I'm talking about attending the conventions, attending the work functions where you might be face to face with some of these people. It is absolutely possible to build a fantastic network just through digital networking. People do it in business all the time. People, I
Mm-hmm.
have connections all over the country, in Rekkr, all over the world, actually. And
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had a lot of those connections back before I did this on YouTube. I did like some website gaming thing too, and that was with people from all over the world. And that network that we developed to be able to work together and to do it was amazing. It was one of the best periods of my life that didn't involve going to work 9 to 5 every day or like running my own consulting company, which was like too many hours. This was actually fun, but I was able to use all of that business acumen, that I had learned and actually do some networking with it this way. And it works. It definitely works. I never met a single one of them in person, but to this day, I could still pick up with them, send a message, ask a question, get some information anytime. Like the connections are real and long lasting. So I think it's a balance and it depends on what your endeavor is and what your situation is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is, like you said before, it's individual, it's customized to what you particularly are working on and what you need. Um, I mean, it's kind of hard to haggle price with people, on the phone if they don't have a long relationship with you and stuff like that. Like I don't know, there are some times when the personal touch is necessary, and I think it's just a little bit of balance, and depending on the situation, how much of each would be beneficial. Would you agree?
I do agree.
Mm.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, so Dean, do you want to read the third one?
Yes. How should people with social anxiety or trauma interpret Law 18 without forcing themselves into overwhelming environments that backfire psychologically?
Oh, that's a good question because you don't want to push yourself into harming yourself. Each person needs to find their balance onto when is it too much in either way, either in
Mm-hmm.
socializing and or in isolation. We all have our individual boundaries, but there are people that have high anxiety and are just not as well socially adjusted. I deal with a lot of adult autistics or people that just have social anxiety, and it's very difficult for them to function in big social events and stuff. But socialization isn't just a big party. Socialization in dealing with everything on it is the one-on-one and just the casual conversations that happen on a daily basis and the information you can pick up in just everyday kind of situations, like going to the grocery store and talking to the cashier for a second, just like, hello, how are you? And they say, oh, I like that sweater you're wearing from that university. And you say, yeah, I'm studying to be an engineer. It doesn't have to be a big conversation, but it's that little bit back and forth that can make you more comfortable, little by little by little. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like I say, socialization doesn't have to be the big party. You don't have to be comfortable in big events for this to be successful. It's individual. The point is, don't run away from it. That would be detrimental to your mental health. Running away from social situations because they're uncomfortable is easy to do and it feels good at first, but it's going to lead to long-term distress. It is. It's going to lead to problems in the end. Like, it's not going to be good for you for very long. So you have to just keep trying. And sooner or later you get a little more comfortable with it, or you find a way that makes you more comfortable with it. Everybody's going to be individual. I don't think there's a pat answer for that one, except for find your comfort with it and don't give up.
Exactly.
The silence was getting me for a second there. Like, I was like,
it is.
okay.
I mean, it's it does all just ends up coming back to trying to get that balance.
Right. This is all just, it's an exercise in balance. Absolutely. Right. It's like, all right, I'll read this one. This is going to be a good one for you. Where is the line between appropriate executive distance to maintain authority and destructive social emotional distance that breeds resentment and blind spots?
I guess when you start talking about what you've been having for dinner on a regular basis.
Oh, yes. Like, if I, like, when okay. That actually resonates with me because, like, I used to have to manage a group of like 35 people in one of my positions, and you have to have authority over them and keep things going, and you are their boss. You are in charge, but you still want to be sociable enough that they feel like they come and talk to you on a regular basis or tell you if something's up or be a little bit friendly. But you definitely don't want to come and tell me what you had for dinner every night. And you like, it's a fine balance. Like, I'm not going to be that friendly with you that we're going to sit in the in the employee kitchen and have coffee and you're going to tell me how you burnt the roast. Like, that's not going to happen. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Yeah. Because then you get too familiar and then you feel, it's a fine balance of friendliness, and you can't be fake friendly either. You got to be like genuine friendly. I have I have had situations where people are just so fake friendly when they're in positions of authority, and you can tell. And it just, like, people just, like, you become the meme and the joke in the office. Like, it's not good,
Mm-hmm.
because that will also strip you of your authority and your respect, because in order to have authority there needs to be respect for true authority. you know
Exactly.
yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know.
It's a very tough one.
It's more of a business kind of thing. But even if you were just like leading a group or organizing like even a PTA meeting at school or your neighborhood watch or anything, or hmm, or trying to get a band together, right, Rekkr? You still like
Herding cats.
herding cats. Exactly. If you were herding cats, you need to have some authority. Yet don't be too friendly. They'll take advantage. Okay. Okay, you want to do the last one?
Yep. In power terms, is a leader more vulnerable when overly familiar, no mystique, or when isolated, no information and no goodwill?
All right. That's mm,
I would say it's not one or the other. I'd say it's a variation on both. If you're too overly familiar with people, then it opens you up uh, for people to manipulate what might be perceived as your weaknesses, and if you're too isolated,
Hmm.
then people can manipulate um your absence.
Yep. I kind of agree, because if we look at the two examples that they gave us, um, the thing that Louis XIV did, everybody was around him and he was very social, but he kept them at bay with those remarks like, I don't know him, stuff like that, like, to keep it a little bit less. And yet the other one, the Emperor of China, he isolated himself so much that he got no information, no goodwill, and everybody was working on his demise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know, like, you are vulnerable if you become too familiar. People don't take you as seriously, right? Like, they think they know too much about you. They think they know what you're going to do at all times. They kind of lose a little bit of respect. That one chapter we did on unpredictable, you know, like, if they think they know everything you're going to do and say, like, become overly familiar,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna you're gonna lose some respect there too. They're gonna feel like they have more power over you. you know
Yes. As
so
well
I
as.
guess, again, it's balance, right? The key word for this whole thing is balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Hmm. I hope the questions give people something to think about, in going over this on about it, because we're not trying to say like you have to be out and about with everything, and that you can't like have plenty of time to yourself and enjoy that quiet time that you love. Um, but we're talking about extreme isolation, right? On
Mm.
how that could be actually detrimental, especially if you're working on goals and endeavors. And it doesn't work in business, but I think in applying it to real life, it doesn't work really well in real life either, when it's done to an extreme. You know. Oh, did we get to the reversal? Before I read that, is there anything else you want to add, Justin?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. It's a short one. And the reversal here. It is hardly ever right and propitious to choose isolation. Without keeping an ear on what is happening in the streets, you'll be unable to protect yourself. About the only thing that constant human contact cannot facilitate is thought. The weight of society's pressure to conform and the lack of distance from other people can make it impossible to think clearly about what is going on around you. As a temporary course, then, isolation can help you gain perspective. Many a serious thinker has been produced in prisons where we have nothing to do but think. Machiavelli could write The Prince only once he found himself in exile and isolated on a farm far from the political intrigues of Florence. The danger is, however, that this kind of isolation will sire all kinds of strange and perverted ideas. You may gain perspective on the larger picture, but you lose a sense of your own smallness and limitations. Also, the more isolated you are, the harder it is to break out of your isolation when you choose to. It sinks you deep into quicksand without your noticing. If you need time to think, then choose isolation only as a last resort, and only in small doses. Be careful to keep your way back into society open. In other words, balance. I should have just made a big slide that just said balance.
Yep.
That definitely is the name of the game here, for sure. For sure. But, you know, well, that was a good one. I
That
enjoyed
was an
this one.
excellent one. Yeah, this one was
I am
much.
enjoying it. Mm.
Yeah.
I think balance is such a topic, and mental health and balance in trying to find that individually is a topic that like we could talk about every day in some manner, no matter what the conversation is geared toward: business, home life, YouTubing, streaming, gaming, music, anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
all about that proper balance, because true success, I believe, is when you find that, when you have accomplished your goals, but the sacrifice hasn't been too great, that you still have the ability to enjoy what you have accomplished with others, and you just hit that sweet spot. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Wow, that's kind of rude. Um, wow. Can,
What's happened?
Man, there's someone on my Kick stream who's just rude. You can ban
Oh,
them,
I've been
Chill.
getting them. I've gotten like
Chill.
4 of them now.
Yes, they're just telling us how bad our stream is and how much better there is. That's okay.
It's a
Like,
bot. It's not a real person. It's a bot.
it's so personal, the stuff they're saying. Chill, just ban them. They can just go play with themselves somewhere else. Yeah.
It's a copy pasta. Like I have 1, 2, 3,
Mm-hmm.
4, 5 saying the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you today?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we're popular.
During the
We got
stream.
you know what? Thank you. Like YouTube, we're in the algorithm. The bots have arrived. Like, oh, those are over on Kick though.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, um, yeah. Thank you, mods, for taking care of that. Uh, I was asking you if you had anything else to add before we signed off, because I really did enjoy this one. Balance is such a great topic with mental health and personal, individually, and even if you're trying to do it for business endeavors or any kind of endeavor, any
Mm-hmm.
goal you're trying to accomplish, I do believe that the key to real success is when you can actually enjoy that accomplishment and you
Mm-hmm.
haven't sacrificed too much, as far as personal life and things like that. Yeah.
But you also do have to be willing to make those sacrifices.
On the short term, I think that's correct. You do have to be willing to put in the work. You do have to think long term on what your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be so narrow minded that you wake up one day and you don't have any of the other things that all you have, and you have no life to share it with. Like, because that could be detrimental. Now you don't have a goal to achieve anymore. You accomplished what you wanted. Now what? If the
Now
rest
you
of your
just
life is empty around it, that can be devastating.
yeah. I think you can also build back up
Yeah.
the social side as well if need be
Hmm.
when needed.
True. I just don't think you can ignore it the whole time. I really don't. I don't think that's healthy. I think more people wake up with regret in those situations than not. We
I
never regret
I think it
the
can go
things.
both ways.
Yeah, I don't think we lay on our deathbed and regret the things we did. It's always regretting the things we didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Hmm. But I enjoyed this. I'm almost afraid to ask you what's next. But what's next?
Oh, let's see what's next. The next law is know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person.
Oh, this is true. Don't want to get caught like that, huh? That would not be good, would it?
I
Yeah,
got
that wouldn't be good at
6
all.
now.
You got what?
I got 6 of them saying the
Oh,
same thing.
I have another one too. Yeah. Sheila, just as a matter, definitely report them when you ban them. or for spamming the chat. Yes, and then usually they'll do something about that. If you, I don't know if you can do that on Kick as you can on Twitch. I can do it on Twitch quite easily. Well, yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that wraps it up for tonight. Thank you for everyone who was here in the chat, and thank you for everyone who is watching all over the world live. We appreciate it, and we'd really like to hear from you in the comments about anything that we're talking about or doing. Some of the questions that we asked, your personal experiences with balance and finding it in this situation between isolation and socializing rather. So
And
on that,
and even tell us when you've had when you've accidentally been too sociable or accidentally been too isolated.
right, because none of us are
That's always
perfect, that's for
interesting.
sure. That is like lesson learned, right? And it's easy to go. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you all. We'll be back next Tuesday with chapter 19. I mean, next Saturday. Sorry, did I say Tuesday? Ooh, what's going on Tuesday? I don't know where that came from. We'll be back Saturday, same time,
Yes.
same place, all over the place on YouTube, Kick ×2 and Twitch ×2 on both mine and Rekkr's channel. And
Yes.
the full PDF of the book is in the description below on the YouTube video. And also any of the slides that we use for any of the chapters we've already done, there is a list to the presentation also down there. And you can find Rekkr on Twitch and Kick, and his links are below also. So you missed my true crime streams? Yes. I'm doing some shorts. I did two. I did Clenny and Logan Paul. And so hopefully you guys will check that out. I haven't had a lot of time to go live lately, and I've been doing short videos, and I do appreciate the views. There seem to be quite a few views on them, so I guess people are enjoying them. They're a little bit shorter. But I'll try to get back to it soon, Chill. Right now things are a bit hectic and we need some time. There's balance. I'm working on my balance right now between isolating and socializing out here on YouTube. Well, there you go. All right. So on that, I guess that's it. Let me see. Any last words, just Rekkr?
Anything can be a taco if you can fit it in a tortilla.
What?
Oh, you asked for last words. They didn't
You
have to
said
make sense.
I'm going to be a little more careful next time. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week if you don't see us over on Twitch and Kick in the meantime for some music practice with Rekkr. All right. Good night.
No.